in some ways I don't really manage it very well. I mean, I get really consumed with grading in this class, and that's actually somewhat of a problem. You know, as a junior faculty member, even at a school where there's emphasis on teaching and you know you're encouraged to be a good teacher and put energy into your teaching, there's still limits that are supposed to be set on teaching. And you know, this class, it's a big class. It's only one of my 2 classes per term, and the grading is pretty substantial because of the way I choose to evaluate students and assess them. And when I first started teaching the class, you know, being on the quarter system, we have about 10 weeks or so. I gave 3 exams, and they were essay exams, and there's 210 students in the class. So and each essay exam had a few questions for each student. So I'm grading 600 questions 3 times a quarter, and that was just the exams, you know. So that was pretty overwhelming. And I cut back to 2 exams, which some students really don't like still. You know, it means that there's more information for any one exam. And that's an area of feedback that I've had to accept that some students are not going to be happy with, but that I have to maintain because I can't, it's a compromise from my point of view. You know, they would prefer to have the material broken up more, but I just can't do it in a way that allows me to still assess them in the way I want to assess them. Also, having the TA really helps, that I have a designated TA assigned with the class. And I make it I have the same TA work with me for the full academic year. And so I make it very clear to the individual up front what they're responsible for and what I'm responsible for in terms of grading. And I always have it so that I grade all of one assignment and the TA grades all of one assignment, so that we don't have this issue of who's the better grader in the situation, you know, kind of like going to your mom for something and then going to your dad to see if they'll say yes. You know, I don't want that. I want the TA to have final say on the assignments that he or she grades, and I have final say on what I grade. Now I give the TA a lot of help to grade, and I provide rubrics, and we talk about things and look at samples, and you know, there's a lot of, I'm involved in the process quite a bit, but I try to empower them to the point that they're comfortable being a grader, and that allows me to do more than I could do if it was just me. So the class right now has 2 exams that are now a hybrid format because after my family growing, I've realized, in addition to other work responsibilities, it's just I had to shave off some of that grading time because I was losing over a week of time twice per quarter just to grade, and it just wasn't really sustainable. So I now have exams that are partial multiple choice and then still have 2 substantial essay questions that grade, but it cut down about 1/3 of the work. So using a TA is a good help, but the professor has to really manage that relationship as its own thing, and has to put in a lot of time sort of up front to make sure that that process will be smooth once the quarter's underway. As for grading, I think part of this is about why do I give these kinds of exams, because I think some students will say, wouldn't it be easier if you just gave multiple choice? And I certainly have had people suggest that, not just students, but wouldn't it be easier for you if you just did that? And that kind of goes back to my personal values and my expectations for the class. And I don't in any way mean to imply that there's something wrong with multiple choice tests. It's just from my point of view, I can't know with confidence how my students are doing and learning if I use multiple choice tests exclusively. I just can't tell. I've had too many students in the past who seem to know what they're doing based on conversations with me and reviewing exams that took multiple choice tests do poorly, and students who didn't really know what they were doing do well, or better than they probably should have. I do continue to look for ways to save time and to make it more efficient so that it's not too consuming and so that I don't personally burn out. But I am pretty committed to this way of assessing because it just provides me with such invaluable information.